Another episode of Office Hours here on Jacksnax. Today, it is a freezing cold and how do we call it? Sweater weather here. So even indoors, wearing the old sweater. Kind of nice though, gotta say. Here today to talk a little bit about dynamics and how to play with both uh, emotion and with overdrive, at the same time, and how to vary our right hand picking. So this is probably the single greatest um, cause of ear fatigue and boredom. All right, for most of the people that listen to music and aspiring guitar players. So, pardon me. So a while back, I remember I didn't really focus on this stuff nearly as much as I do now. And what I noticed is that as I was listening to a lot of my solos and sessions and things like that, that I was finding that the transients, that the initial spike of my guitar sound was often kind of too heavy-handed. And I think that this came from playing thicker strings and acoustic guitar for quite a while, and from kind of being influenced by Stevie Ray Vaughan. So I'm a child of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So those are my years of getting into this. So hey, how's it? Yeah, two days in a row, no big deal. And so today we're talking about how to take it easy with that right hand. So my suggestion is that you dial in a sound that's a little too loud, and B, a little too distorted, and maybe even a little too bright. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm gonna noodle around for a little bit and fuck around with some of this overdrive with quite a lot of delay on it. So we'll start out and then we'll kick on the backing track, and it'll be fun for everybody, hopefully. So obviously that's me noodling around over this little loop I came up with over top of Eleanor Rigby. And, it's a cold and dreary and cloudy and fucking, it's really kind of a depressing day outside, to be honest. And I'm all by myself in the house and I was feeling kind of lonely. So I started thinking about that tune and just started noodling around. And one thing led to another. And I started thinking about how wonderful and dynamic and expressive that melody is. And I figured, all right, let's talk a little bit about how to practice dynamics. All right, that's right hand stuff primarily. It's hard to control dynamics with your left hand, right? Can't really make the guitar sound any louder by virtue of what we do with our fretting hand. I shouldn't say left hand because there's probably some left-handed guitar players out there. So my suggestion is, and this is something that I've been working on kind of steadfastly for, like I said, around I don't know, can't remember. But I started noticing that when I was listening back to my tracks, it kind of sounded like I was shouting the whole time when I was playing. I was just like overusing my right hand's power and kind of relying on, it's kind of like shouting at somebody or typing in all caps. It just kind of got annoying after a while. I'm talking about within, it was still acceptable. It was just kind of annoying. So here, we got a basic sound here. This is clean, right? That's what's going on in the loop, right? There's the E minor, A minor, back there, and then that little descending line cliche, right? Right, where we got this is all the lonely people, where do they all belong? And then C major. Back to E minor. Right? And then pretty prime example of how to use C Lydian over top of that, right? All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to maybe make up a loop of a song like that, one that has a nice spacious melody, all right? And then I want you to take too much from what your volume knob has to offer and turn yourself up louder than you should. All right now I've got too much volume relative to the background of the loop here. All right, if I'm playing full volume, it kind of just drowns it out. But if I am measured with my right hand picking and try to mix myself down into the track a little bit by playing quieter and with more space, even though I've got a bright, overdriven sound with lots of reverb and a little delay. Okay. If I do that, I can actually practice right hand picking pressure at tempo. And this is one of the problems I see with a lot of my students is that as I tell them, hey, back off your right hand, they slow down and they think that tempo and volume are interconnected, and they need to learn to practice slowly, but quickly but quietly, right? So let's look at how we can very gently play. There's a lot of compression. Overdrive is compression, right? So let's just look at, right there it is, or even a little brighter back here on the B string. What an amazing melody. Just stop for a second and think about Paul McCartney. He must have been 20 when he wrote that. It's fucking frightening. It's just, I don't know how old he was in 66, but all right. So fascinating to be, George Harrison was done with the Beatles before he was 30. That's pretty impressive. Anyway, let's just think about this melody, okay? So we're playing over E minor, so it's off the minor third. 3, 4, 5, 3, 1. Okay, and those are minor thirds, obviously. Okay, and then we come up to the little descending. Okay, so that's flat 3, 4, 5, 7, Dorian 6, right? Right, natural 6. And that's the root of our new A minor chord. All right, so then we get the C note gets to get thrown in there. We've used the E, the D, and the C sharp. Now we're going to use this. So when you got... So, wow, what a humdinger. That C is really amazing. Kind of foreshadows the chorus of, right, that whole, right? All right. So let's try playing the melody nice and quiet. 1, 3, 4. Right, super sensitive. Take it easy with that right hand. If you're shouting the whole time, no bueno. All right, so you don't want to hit it over and over and over again. You gotta vary the intensity with what you're doing. Okay. Okay, let's try it in another octave. See if we find anything else that's fascinating there. Clam aside, I think you can see what I'm talking about here. The idea is to utilize the sound that would be otherwise, if we played at full power, it would just be too extreme. All right, by utilizing the sound to kind of become the guardrail, right? It forces you to play with a little bit more sensibility. All right, I'm barely touching this pick to the strings. By the way, does anybody tend to notice what happens when somebody whispers? When I whisper, what do? You fucking listen. You lean in. That's right. If I'm shouting, you're gonna back off, right? When somebody plays a little bit of cat and mouse with you with music, that's what's titillating. That's what's fascinating. That's what stimulates the listener to kind of go, hey, what's he up to up in there? All right. Now, whether or not you dislike this interpretation or my mediocre abilities to play the melody on demand, what can't be disputed is the benefit for me to practice knowing how to vary my intensity, right? Because without that, we can't really take a listener on a journey. All right. So let me clean up a little bit here. Let's take some of this delay off and we'll dry up. By the way, if anybody wants to understand how much reverb it actually takes, this is what the sound would sound like dry on my guitar. That's my dry tone. Right? I mean, it sounds almost claustrophobic. Okay. Then what I'm doing is I'm adding, before the amp, I'm actually adding this kind of reverb. Listen to how it delays and then comes in. There's like a little pre-delay on it. And then the actual delay itself is this, I think, right? Yep, there it is. So there's one more delay and actually another little reverb in the back that just stays on every one of my sounds. All right, and that's what gives it the kind of echo, it's quite literally the echo and the reverb, right? That's coming together. That's treble pickup. If we come to the neck pickup, we see it a little creamier. Really a nice sound for that, right? Whoa, there's a lot of echo there. All right, so that's my little quick, exercise that I've been doing for myself is working on. Let's get rid of that. Come on, baby. Fuck it. So that's all I'm really doing today is just practicing a little sad jam. Not sure if I'll ever even play that tune. I think we might spawn that into a band arrangement one of these days. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm not sure if anybody's got any questions. There's not that many people out there usually at this time of day, but I'm about to start teaching, and I figured I would check in and just say hi. I'm getting kind of bored and lonely. It's like one of those dreary, kind of depressing December days. I don't really like them. Unfortunately, the tile guy blew me off again. Came and looked at the job and realized he didn't prep it right, so he had to do 20 minutes worth of prep that needs to dry overnight before he can come back tomorrow. Fucking hate contractors. Anybody out there who's a contractor who happens to be a nice person, please say hi to me and restore my faith in humanity. I don't like the fact that I have yet to meet. I've been trying to renovate a house. This is not my first renovation, and it is just damn near impossible to find somebody that's reputable, man. They're just all weasels. Man, anyway, dude. So, hey, there I am. Let's see what we got. Can I talk about techniques for developing longer lines? Yeah, absolutely. Let's see about this. All right. How do I think about longer lines? Oh, yeah, that's what I need. More of the 3-note per string, 4-note per string runs. Okay. Well, maybe folks have seen me talk about the exercise I call GIFM, the Go Fuck Your Mother exercise. Charlie taught me all those years ago, and I've tried to pass on to you as to how to learn how to do 3-note per string picking, which is one of my least favorite tasks on earth, hence the moniker that I've given this. But you can look at down, up, down, down, up, down. All right, sorry, down, up, 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 down. And that's our way up the scale. We're playing G major or E minor, right, in deference to today's backing track. So the idea is that by learning these 3-note patterns, that we become more familiar with them. And the cool thing about this is that the picking pattern falls along the 16th note grid. So that means you could have like 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. Right? You can loop them, and then you can practice playing your whole, modes against that. You can go G major. And come up and then up into A Dorian. Right, and so on and so forth. So this is the way you get familiar with playing your 3-note. Yes, of course, you need the metronome, okay? That or a good loop of going 1E. Start out at like 80 BPM. All right, make sure you're picking properly. All right, this is an amazing drill for getting your right hand together, and that you're going to be doing constantly inside and outside string changes. So those suck. Going back and forth. And then you're playing 16th notes. Do not think you're playing triplets. The feel of that exercise is not. It's not 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4. Oh, sorry. Okay. So that's how it is. Now, what do we got here? My issue isn't so much with the scales as it is how. Well, no. The first thing you do is you start practice. So listen, the first thing you do is start practicing those scales, right? The next thing you want to do is you want to take the scales, and now that you've got your picking prowess up, you can start playing sections of them as sequences, right? Right? Or you can start to work on maybe something like this. I think you might like this. This is a pretty slick lick, okay? if you start out in E, if we're thinking about E minor or G major, right? Right, so we're going to come here. What is it? Something like that. So over top of that E Dorian sound. Let's try that. Sorry. So we're going to do a hammer on. Actually, it's a slide. Like that. Sorry. Okay, so by going. So we're coming up from E minor. Okay. Now we're going to come. You could look at it like a G major 7 line or an A minor Dorian sound as well. So. Right? So let's hear it over top of the E minor there. Okay, so I was basically just developing E minor over top of that. Then kind of a little pentatonic stuff with that 9. Okay, so this is definitely kind of where Eric Johnson's influence comes in on my playing. So sequential ideas and pentatonics with the 9. That kind of sound, definitely. And then I just kind of did a little, this little rake, this B minor, this little trick here, which you could see as being the root minor third and fifth of a B minor chord, which it is, but that isn't how it's being applied here. It's actually being the fifth, flat 7 and 9 of an E minor 9 chord with a 7 in it. And then we came up and grabbed the B like this. When we went to the A minor in the lick, that I mean the backing track behind you, okay, Ian? So that's how I was looking at that. So just don't stop playing is the primary thing. All right. One of the other things I like to do is do this little trick where I go down, up, slide. Okay. So let's take a look at the G major scale, okay, or the E minor scale. All right. So we'd want to see. So what would that be? All right, so if we're looking for this E minor with the, if you want to do an E Dorian, you would come up from, right, that kind of, we can do that or whatever. It doesn't really matter what scale you want to choose. The idea is to learn this little move. Down, up, slide, okay? So if we're doing... So over top of E minor. So let's talk a little bit, Ian, about how you would build sequences out of things, okay? First things you want to do is you want to think about let's just look at pentatonics. They're simple. They're applicable to just about everything that you do, but they might not have every note from the major scale, but they still are very useful. Let's just look at sequences of notes. Twos. Okay, E minor, G major today, right? Right, so learn how to do that. Okay. All right. Now, then you got threes. Right? Now, here's the thing though. We could do what we could call a front side or a bridge side 3, right? That would be like this. The note that's closest to the bridge gets hit again. Or we could have nut side 3s. Or we could alternate. So that could work with 4s as well, right? Or we could just do bridge side 4s. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Or we could do. Or alternating. Same with 5s. Right, or. Okay, so when you start thinking about numbers, right, and start commingling them, right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? That's how I write lines. Right, little ideas. Maybe you do kind of coming up and down the scale. And then into melody, okay? So if you don't practice little choppy things like that, you can't break into a little section of that. Does that pair with the 3-string? Well, no, that doesn't. That's more connected to 2-note per string stuff, like going. So that's what you want to learn directional picking for. Okay, sorry, not directional picking. Down slanting and up slanting picking. So pick slanting definitely is a trick that helps play 2-note per string lines, which falls right in line with pentatonic playing. And then once you learn that little trick of going that little down up slide thing, you can add the 3rd note without actually changing your right hand, which is so dope. Okay, if you want to learn how to play 3-note per string lines in the I pick every note situation, you're going to be coming up against some pretty adventurous right hand problem solving. There's a very ambitious technique. Okay, pure alternate picking a la Al Di Meola. Oh man, I fucking hate it. Okay. Because think about what you're doing. You have to alternate not only the stroke, but actually the technique, right? You're going to go down, up, down, up, down, up. So that means that your right hand has to rotate like this, right? Or stay in this kind of upward position like this, which minimizes your muting, but enables you to get those upstrokes. So you'll see like Al plays like that. It's kind of like up, but I don't know how he gets the muting from that up position. He's a real motherfucker, obviously. So the idea is, I look at longer lines. The longer lines that I do are not 3-note per string things, to be honest. Most of my longer lines are strung together little licks and ideas and arpeggio little blurps. All right. That makes perfect sense. I think I was complicating it too much. You may have been complicating it too much. You may also not realize how complicated just because it might not be complicated. All right, but that doesn't make it easy. That's the problem. It's simple to explain, impossible to do, right? Just fly. What? So my suggestion is that you learn how to play 2-1-2 arpeggios and this technique, okay? That I'm talking about. This, let's say we were playing in C Lydian, right? All right, so we can do something like that. Something like that. So where I'll be going like down, up, slide, like that. That kind of thing where I do like down, up, slide, down, up, like that, or down, up. And then come down some sequency stuff. Okay. So one of the breakthrough things for me was learning this little idea of sliding into a note and then doing a little sequence and then sliding into another note along that train of thought. So let's just stick with E minor, okay? Let's say we're going to take our E minor scale. All right, we're going to go. Okay, so we're just coming, but we're going to add one before and then come back. Or just, that's better. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Right? Now I've taken the minor pentatonic scale and added this, right? I'm just adding this little inflection. That was revolutionary for me, okay? Now, if you want to, you could then take the other notes that are in the scale, right? That you were using that 9 as the slide up into the minor third. But you could actually add the 9 to that sequence and do the same little approach note. So I went 3, 1, 2, 6. 1, 2, 6, 5, 3, right? All right. So those little, they've definitely got wormed their way into my ear. Like I can't get away from that. So those are sequences, right? Those aren't 3-note per string lines. Ugh, scales? You don't want to play scales. All right. And arpeggios, right? We've talked a little bit about Tim Miller's approach to playing arpeggios, but it's called 2-1-2. And the idea is there's 2 notes on one string and 1 note on the next. And what this affords you is the ability to break free from that dreaded alternate picking concept, and you can go down, up, down, down, up. So you can get that sound. And then there were some sequences after it. Right, that's the directional picking. So that's how I work this stuff up, is working on picking drills and arpeggios. Woo. All right, so look at this arpeggio, right? 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 3. over top of E minor, we could hear. Okay, that was over a C chord. So I did a C arpeggio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. So those are just 1, 3s, and 5s. This is like a great hand position kind of idea here. Okay, so 1, 3, 5, and the index jumps. So you can slide into it. Or go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, that's again still using Tim Miller's thing. 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. All right, that's so. At least part of the Tim Miller technique, right? So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Shit. What a great exercise that is. You can make it minor too, right? That would be, what would that be? Yep. What is that? That kind of thing? Is that right? No. That's it. That's it. Okay, this little Django shape. 1, minor 3, 5th, root, minor 3, 5th, root. Okay, that is just invaluable, right? So. Okay, picking patterns. Dibba 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 dibba. That's all I was doing. It just kept going and noodling. Right? I'm absolutely just improvising and making the shit up. But there's a bunch of thanks. There's obviously a lot of time that goes into finding little tricks that work easily for you so that you can get at them without having to think. The problem with music is it happens too fast to think. So you have to kind of go do your thinking away from the situation you're in and then apply it to a slowed down version of what you're going to be playing over or hope to play over correctly. And give yourself 1,000 at-bats, okay? That's when you start clocking reps. So you're working with the metronome, you're working with a click track, you're working with a loop, you're working with whatever, something steady, and just playing, isolating the same idea over and over and over again. You cannot possibly succeed without that step of slowing it down and isolating it and figuring out whether or not it's going to hold water. Then you can add harmony to it and make sure that it actually is hitting the right notes at the right time. If it doesn't, you have to nip and tuck and adjust. And then pretty soon you start to develop your instincts around this stuff. And you start to think, I've done something kind of like this, and I could probably just make this up and have it. It's kind of like sketching. It's like I'm literally just winging it, but I'm winging it within the context of somebody who's spent time, like enough time to understand how it's working. And then my mind is actually taking over at that point. I'm not thinking about the licks so much as the duration of time that I have left to fill in the music, right? I have E minor, hit the little descending thing right here. You go to A minor, play some A minor, back to E, kind of pushed, back to E minor. That same little Dorian sixth there, and then hit that A minor. Don't forget it's with a C right there. And then slow down, try to play something sensitive. All right, and then remember to make room for the part where it goes to C, right? Like think about what's coming up next, right? That's what my mind is thinking. It's not thinking about licks, it's thinking about the subject matter that I'm talking about. And then my hands just kind of fill in the gaps. Just same way if I told you to talk about something you really understood, you wouldn't need to have a script. You'd just be able to talk about it. Even if it's something like that isn't your area of expertise, like what color is this sweater? You'd be able to talk 5 minutes about that. Well, it's purple, but technically speaking, people would refer to that as lavender. And lavender is, it's because it vaguely approximates the color of that flower lavender, which grows often in the south of France. It gets turned into highly valued for. You could go on and on and on about the subject matter. Just if I just started you on the topic of my sweater's color, right? I just picked that arbitrarily. But when you actually have your ideas kind of chosen for you vis-a-vis the music and the song and the melody, well, starting with the melody is obviously the best thing. How do we break that up and make it a little bit longer or sweeter or more sensuous, right? Right? Those little slides. Sorry. Right? Those little slides in. Bends into them. Those are really great, right? If we do. One fret bend. Right? A lot of tension. And then you can play over and through the melody and kind of create tension. So if we did bring in drama with all that, those that and the vibrato and everything. There's just a lot of right, a lot of Sturm und Drang, right? Right, a little up-picked harmonics. Those are some of my little favorite little things that I stole from Trey. That That upward vibrato is also pretty killer too. All right. So the real trick is doing all this shit at once. It's just a lot of parameters there's a lot of plates to keep spinning, as my old friend Derek used to say. So you've got to think about hitting the right notes at the right time with the right amount of intestinal fortitude, right? Enough guts, right? And not be afraid. You got to take risks. That's the hardest part. It's like the older I get and the more experienced I become, the more I realize that when I'm on the edge of my abilities, and I don't mean, I mean, if I don't know exactly how to play everything that's coming, I do better work, but there's more downside. There's more potential downside. Yes, it is so damn infinite, but that's why I keep coming back to this thing. It's literally a bottomless pit of joy. So when I get sad, which doesn't happen often, I'm a pretty chipper dude. But when I feel glum, I can take some solace in the infinite joy that this guitar thing has given me over the years. It's just really, really powerful medicine for me. So, this is the thing that got me through my teen years, and I'm just a beautiful, beautiful creature. So let's look at a couple of other little ideas that you might want to steal, okay, Ian, if you're still with me here. If you look at this little idea, E minor, right? So that's down, up, slide, down, down, up, pull back, and bend up. That kind of thing. I love those, okay? So then when you're pulling back down through the pentatonic scale, go one fret away from where you want to go. Something like that, right? I'm just making that up on the spot. And I'm telling you, the willingness of the mind, increases. The elasticity of your concepting increases. The more you try, the better you get at trying. The more you fail, the better you get at trying as well. But, hopefully what you're trying to do is increase your likelihoods of success. So I tend to try things that I already kind of see coming. Halfway through the line, oftentimes I'll be able to figure out where I'm going. And sometimes I just kind of jump in with, here we go, and that can be a very, very alarming sensation, especially if you crash. What's the best part about what's the best part of to show you? I mean, I actually think that I'm not trying to slag my master. I mean, he's not mine. He's a huge tentpole figure in my guitar playing, but my actual take is I think Flame Suit On, I don't think he played the melody very well most of the time. I think he was kind of fucked up and didn't really hit it so sweet. I think the idea is pretty great, to sandwich it in the middle of the J.J. Cale tune. I think that's kind of an unexpected move. And I've listened to I don't know, maybe the 4 or 5, I think, what is it, Keystone and Keen and a couple of the other kind of landmark versions of that little segue. And generally speaking, I think that it has some intensity, but in general, I think he's a little unaware of intervallically what's going on a lot of those interludes, to be honest. So I'm actually not. I'm not really a big fan of his playing on that little part. But if I were thinking about what the best part is obviously that melody. To do that over top of a C chord, right? We've got this big C chord. Sorry. Right? So coming off of its major third. And then we go up that Lydian scale. And it's not Yeah, right, it's kind of, and then you got that great little descending line. Right, so if you can get that slide together after that little ostinato lick, again, that's my favorite part to play. Mm. I like using the Hendrix thing there too. That and adding a little like I said, that like kind of Brian May, the Clapton thing where Fish or whatever. Like all those guys have killer vibrato, and not to say that Jerry didn't, but a lot of times he sounds a little sharp or a little out of tune, and that's par for the course for his day and age. Especially, let's be honest, he's probably pretty fucked up when he was playing. Right, and I'm not trying to slam one of my heroes. Straight up is my biggest influence. Him, Eddie Van Halen, probably Tony Rice, Norman Blake, Doc Watson. Those guys huge for me. Hendrix, Gilmore, Knopfler, Steve Ray Vaughan. That's about it. Those are the big boys on my mountaintop. So back to Ian's quest for longer lines. Here's the other thing you can do: blending. Okay, blending sequences. Right? If you go like, okay, then blend it in there. Just like play a little bit and then slide into a new position and see what you find. Right, so I pivoted and made that sixth sound in there. That's going to sound nice over any Dorian sound, right? Sorry. Sorry. So just don't stop playing. That's the main way you make long lines, okay? The other way you can make long lines is with these ideas that I'm talking about that come out of the directional picking. Right, really, really fun, okay? But all that comes from Eric Johnson, basically, for me anyway. That's where all that fancy pants picking stuff really feeds into it. So this is hard to explain to people because you try to teach them to alternate pick. But when it comes time for this kind of stuff, for me, I think Bonamassa and also Eric Johnson rely on this technique. Okay. Totally stole it from them. Okay, so let's just rely on the fact that if you can, you want to be picking not in a neutral position, but kind of forward leaning, right? So Eric's idea was always based on these groups of five. See how I'm resting on the string when I get to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to stop for a second. All right, I just played that A note, but my pick is resting on the B string, ready to go. So I can then keep going like that. And my hand doesn't have to rotate to create that crazy feeling of alternate picking. So then I'm using a little pull off there at the end. See how I did an upstroke? So that technique right there. That's what I'm using most of the time when I'm playing fast or long lines that are kind of speedy. I'm usually defaulting into that. I try not to rotate like that. right? That's exhausting for me. But if I can't get there any other way, that's what I got to do. So you got to know them both. It's kind of like playing tennis without a backhand. You can't constantly be avoiding your backhand. So you got to shore up your weaknesses and play to your strengths all the time. All right. So long lines, try playing the same idea. Like let's just say we were taking an E minor idea. Right. So in the key of E minor, okay, let's do E minor natural. So that's with the C, right? E natural minor. Let's just do that. Right. Right. So I just played a little sequence. So you could then find another one. I kind of played like a little G chord. Came up here. Played a little D chord. All right, so try to learn how to go up and down the pentatonic scale by adding this little 9 at the end. So if you can get that together, you'll start to be able to run off and play faster lines for sure. All right, so that picking technique of getting 2 notes per string, that's all developed by my pseudochromatic ideas of this stuff. Getting that kind of picking together, and then rather than playing 4 notes per string, just play 2 notes. And that's me hammering. Right? All right, so that's it. Then you start adding in, right? Little chromatic note. Little diminished idea. You can't do the same pattern over and over again and expect anybody to be fascinated. You just have to have the small little chunks of patterns, okay? So that kind of thing is probably where I'd go with playing longer lines, looking at little sequences and repeating them and over and over and over again places, so. Right, that's just... That's me taking some risks. I just overbent on purpose. Just to add a little element of energy and panic. All right, I'm going to duck out of here, and thank you very much for tuning in, anybody and everybody who did. And hopefully you guys learned a little something by watching me noodle around. And, even though we drifted a little bit off the idea of playing dynamically and utilizing tone to inspire that, and also taking advantage of the minor scale and minor melodies, I feel like we got into some good stuff, some deep water, actually, with my boy Ian there. So what's the best part about it? Yeah, so here it is. It's so damn infinite. Anybody else? Thanks for demystifying. So yeah, so Ian, if you ever want to, get together and maybe I'm not trying to suggest you hire me, but obviously you can don't feel like you have to be shy during the office hours. Okay, absolutely, absolutely. You too, man. Absolutely. It's always nice to have somebody engage with me when I'm doing one of these things. So thank you, actually, Ian. All right, everybody, take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys maybe. I don't think tomorrow, but whatever. Oh, that's right. I'm traveling tomorrow. Tomorrow through. I'm out of town for a little bit. All right, everybody. Hang loose. See you soon. Okay.